you so much. Just like Bami had introduced, my name is Ada Olaifa, and I'm the founder and executive director of Ogunsola Africa. So for the next 45 minutes, I'm going to be your host and moderator for this panel session. I understand that some of the noise from the Mother's Day during my interview, but I'd love to ask for your permission to please stay with us all throughout the session. All of this conversation is focused on engineering excellence and see how we can take education, the engineering talent pipeline, not just in Nigeria, not just in Lagos, but also in Africa. So I'm going to be introducing my panelists. The persons who are going to be joining me on stage are, first I'm going to start with Emmanuel, Ogunsola, who is the head of products at Altschool Africa. Please, a round of applause for me. We have persons from Altschool here. Awesome. So while he kind of on stage, Emmanuel is the head of product again at Altschool. He also has over a decade of experience in startups, and he excels in building and scaling innovative products and services. My next speaker is Babatunde Olaifa, who is the country head at GoMyCode. Please, a round of applause, right? As he gets up on stage, a little bit about stage and has built that people, series, projects, and brands in media, advertising, tech, real estate, sports conduct, in a career that's spanning almost over 2 decades, that's 20 years. And your last speaker, or panelist, is Oluwatobi Ogunware, who is a skilled data engineer and data scientist and Moniepoint. Speak about them for me now. African experts say a little bit about Oluwatobi. He specializes in building robust data solutions that drive intelligent decision making. Also, so I had mentioned earlier, the title of this session is Engineering Excellence, Elevating Education Quality in Africa. As the goal of this conversation, like I had mentioned, is for us to explore innovative strategies that will help us improve the quality of tech and engineering education across Africa. And we also want to find out ways and strategies that we can integrate in building world-standard industry practices in our academia curricula to ensure that graduates, we have graduates in the room, also to ensure that graduates are prepared for real-world challenges. Now, how many of us studied or studied around computer science, computer engineering in university? How many of us have ever complained of the archaic learning method that you have to face in Nigerian universities? So again, the goal of this conversation is to ensure and encourage that as we grow in our tech ecosystem, as we go across the region, as the digital economy, tech economy in Nigeria and Africa is expanding, our educational system must go to a separate character. So very briefly, I will ask the panelists to briefly tell me a bit more, share people insights into your experience providing quality tech education to African students. What's your So we'll start with you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Nice to be here. I'm just curious. Sorry, I'm thinking for you was the subject of the any concepts about bio engineers working on stuff. Okay. All right. The reason why I asked because for us at School Africa, our role is all this talented. As much as we empower students in schools as well, but it's also to empower people in the workforce to be able to get the required skills that we need in the industry. And you can get into that job and then discover that you have a challenge where what you know versus what is required, there's a bit of a gap. So All Africa is a way to bridge that gap. Our goal is literally is overall job of kids. What our goals are Africa will be most of kids in Africans by to be that. Thank you.
I think what we do is not different from what Altschool does as well. What we meant is what was said. We're competitors in the same steps. What we're trying to do as a GoMyCode is to bridge that gap between where we are as Africa and the digital economy. How do we accelerate Africa's jump to that digital economy where Africa is not monitoring, where we are taking advantage of what is emerging in tech space, and how we also dance with empower young people to the point where they can lead meaningful lives. That's what we're doing. That's GoMyCode. We're doing this in Africa and Middle East. Currently, lead families in 30 cities in Nigeria, Lagos.
So my next question is to Toby. Order. Okay, wait. I would like to get your perspective. Standing low. Study education to sort of what's like because you are practicing it that field right now. So I'd like to hear your perspective on how you feel engineering education in Africa. Where do you think that were your arts?
Research. Okay. And actually, question. So I think in terms of the quality of engineering, is Africa's job. I think we agree. It's a bit of a lag we have on the global stage and what we have in Africa. But the light is reducing year on year. We see engineers that are getting to the point where we are the ones now making or pushing the envelope in relation to new technologies that favor always. And so I think the quality of engineering of West going up, but I think it's still up because not specifically first, what the so kind of break the advances we're making about us each other day.
Okay, thank you. So the still
No, no, sorry, effect of
that.
great. It's yours. It's for me.
So that sense, for us, over the years, I've spent a lot of time talking about sharing. And the practical side of things, finding my historical size. And personally, it was a lot, sure, right? And really to relate that with the real world, there was a big gap for that. So I would say, generally speaking, is in progress, right? Or it's treated, right? We have a large consensus, and the goal is not to get people to understand the theory. The goal is to get people to relate with it such that you can use it in daily life, right? Can you just wake up and be like, oh, what I realized last week, I can see a problem in the community I'm staying as I'm living, and I can then solve that, right? So that's what I have seen. What has also happened to watch this is we see the hunger. There's that hunger, brain hunger, where people don't just want to do the theory, don't just want to know the buzzwords, and don't just want to try things, but they want to see it impacted, right? In that sense. So that's where we are, right? It's growing, it's cheap, it's not where we want it, but with a lot of collaborations, we get up.
A follow-up question I had question was from us. How can engineering applications what we have? I think we have however but there's a lot of talents when it comes to talents Africa. There's a lot of books, sales of quality of education, all separate so far. So how can this engineering education if it's part of budget technologies like it?
So, again, what's important? I not just put it. You certain. How do you agree? What you're meant to meet one industry? It's one thing for you to go to school or go to a tech school, learn something, and you find out and what you like, that's not what people, that's not what leadership is, right? So for us to be able to develop, we need to understand what are the emerging technologies and how do we integrate those technologies into our curriculum. And the way to go as a talking to people like Oluwatobi what more. On the point body nicely, one of the techniques that we should train people so we're not just focused on self-start and the cover and the framework. Right? So AI is very important now. How do we integrate that to everything that we do? Let's go more. That's what I was touching. How do we train people for data science, machine learning? So we're not, if it is happening, so this is a Android. If it is something like the industry, we'll train as our product X. So what do you train?
Are you right, cameras? Fish pick.
These are round of applause for both of them so far. And military question or there is just like it was author. From all the positions have been always so far. To this levels in your career, do you believe that let's use Nigeria as an example? The leaders here, the quality of tech education in Nigeria is still so far. You know, yes, sorry. You have AS, you have a door, you have in between. Alright, so that's just what thought. Now, you had mentioned something about how a lot of the projects and activities and trainings that I carry out, GoMyCode, for example, is focused on industry trends. So to follow up with that, I literally use what carry a literally unite to buy in tech, where you have that experience. So the next question that I would like to know is, how can project-based learning be better integrated into our tech products? Many times, people accuse, for example, bootcamps of saying, oh, we're just hacking them through that tunnel and they're just churning them out. There's no experience, there's no practical steps taking. So, how far the case is making sure that projects and programs that GoMyCode or school are able to make consistent channels in excellent tech time.
Okay, so this relationship projects based action, I'd like to hear from, let's say the trust compound course, and my perspective on this, someone on the inside is, we have a lot of engineers that are very good at what he learns at the boot camps, but they don't have in-depth knowledge into what it is to be problem solving. In the sense that you can see, I'm sorry to all the Reacts people, but you can see very well. You might see someone and say, okay, I'm a React developer, right? That's just very common. The person does find some problems, they feel, you still working on that, it's part of so it's like there's a disconnect between how they are taught so, for example, what are sales, this because give reality. What we require of the culinary industry is you have. So we are not particularly married to really the framework or any language or anything. We are particularly interested in the ability of individuals to solve. And so in research project based learning, they are letting you understand views, right? If that really project, and then train people up that extent as opposed to limit promiscuity, I don't intensities, permanent pass, that kind of thing. It just take people understand at the moment out there.
Sorry, okay, fair. And I have a very interesting question. Yes, I asked my questions. So maybe you can. So how is you inputting practical steps or project-based learning into what you do?
Yeah. Let me start this speak before
People are perfect. So based on bonus strategy, based on that,
when we get into something rise at the country program rise.
There used to be something that we were tending to bring something, let us pull that technology. There's in this book,
My would be a So basically, your students in particular, you just do this discussions. You do everything about politics. This is examples of these tryouts. Like,
Then a broker, based on the fact that you're a software engineer, you're not a developer, you're an engineer. So an engineer expects for practice that think first principle. Breakthroughs are actually so responsible for this. So that disconnect was there.
so
All of that had actually
it's quite interesting because it took 3 years last month. And in the journey,
we started out with creating skips house first. But along the line, we started merging the skill with the projects. So you wouldn't go through a sophomore program without actually working on the projects. But that's not enough. When you get it to the place, it's almost similar to what has been said. You are truly to the deep end, right? You need to be able to apply. It's not just a project that you came up with, and now you work sleep for maybe a couple of weeks, and now you speak to or out got take it. The next thing is, can you operate a team of people? It's not about you working alone, because in the real world, you don't work alone. It's people to build technologies, solutions, offer us, right? So what we've done is to adjust our framework, right? We are school of plus, school of data, school of web offering sports, school of plus, school of data, school of insurance. It's all the talk. What we've done now is to see, get to your way, collaborate across board, and build things together. So what that means is that you're not just isolated. That's it. But basically, yeah.
Thank you so much. We've talked a lot about what's post-physics and I think that the other thing is if we're able to address this at educational institutions, we would adopt they keep churning out graduates who very times lack skills like we helping like convention, right? So how can we address this? How what strategies do you suggest to institutions? Yes, yeah, different public institutions as well. What kind of strategies do you encourage to keep up with technological advances? Also, bear in mind that some tax may not come to this. It's a very tricky question. Yeah, up to this business.
Also, I think what's lacking, like I said earlier, is that ongoing conversation between academia and industry. I know how hard it is. If you're trying to change the curriculum in Nigeria, it's going to take years without her, right? Before it goes to signing of these government agencies. So I think it all has to on industry and maybe schools like this next to bring that down with going by a trial, foster, or something. This is what you guys teach people. Can we come and help you with some of these things that you have? Can we approach that? Can we bring in hackathons for instance, organize meetings? Can we arrange for our lecturers to come in and be the resource persons? First, GoMyCode. Okay, Google, for instance, Olaifa, different for agriculture. I'll give an example. When I started our careers in episode, the first one, I worked for a company for the first 1 year, I did not do any services. For 1 year, we sent me to media houses, production houses, to client offices, just to learn, right? But so I came back after 1 year, I was ready to become an iPad, right? And I think that's what schools need to do. Colleges like Google need to put programs together that will, enlighten lecturers. Not lecturers only 10, 20, 30 years ago. When I was in school, 100 years were just notes to prepare medicine and sex. I was like to teach the community class for hold up, I'll stop this for class. Because if I have, there's nothing good that is worth it. So how do we keep our lecturers relevant? That's the thing we have to do as school, as company.
That's what this
is.
I'm serious.
Hello? So basically training here in the ketos. Okay, Emmanuel, do you have any leads?
like the way we see it is serious. Like, okay, the way we see it is collaboration. Collaboration is key. I'll give an example. What we have done is behind this scene, we work with corporate boot camps, we work with of it. The goal is not so you just be the number one. The goal is the impact, right? So for us, it's more around how can an academics team and the curriculum team work with anybody. There are people who work with you to improve on what you already have. So we're doing that as of today, right? And there are cases where it's just a case of we are helping you become an institution where you are closer to the industry than what you were before starting with your class.
Correct. So
Yes. So what I think is, I'm also aligned with the other panelists as well, that there used to be greater collaboration between the industry, educators, and then academia and so. And I think there's all that already exists. Like GDG as a chapters of schools, sometimes Moniepoint, we collaborate with University of Plymouth stuff, for example, for Hatch there. And so some of these things already exist, but I think that collaboration is purely about systemic level, where we appear in their curriculum like as it's expected that the industry trend appears in the curriculum. So at some point, maybe 20 years ago, it used to be like networking was the in thing. So maybe at that point, and networking will appear in curriculums. And maybe 10 years at the hyper and then like just engineering. So engineering will appear in the curriculums.
so basically the learning programs as well.
Learning programs. And then, as Robert Space said, they have people that come into the industry to learn from us. And they take that knowledge from students, and then we also put there to share some knowledge. Yeah, as well, on the regular basis, that's something that always.
I think that a takeaway for me from the whole answers by who have shared these, the persons who are casing our graduates or the graduates needing to be taught of ladies. But I think that maybe for me, I'm still curious here, like what are those practical steps? If, for example, a VC of a festival was in this panel, like this audience, what are the steps that they should care that, okay, maybe this is what my university needs to do? If a head of department for computer science, for example, this panel, what are the practical steps that I need to do to change it strictly?
So I think the first thing when we look at it is there's bureaucracy in academia. So before anything will happen, it takes a long time, right? So I think if somebody here, you was to talk to someone who's in head of an institution, the first thing is there has to be a collective decision to actually want to do it. Because if you change the curriculum and the people that will actually implement it don't do that, what you find yourself with is that you are still doing the same thing. On paper, curriculum has changed, or in the classroom, nothing has changed, right? So there's that need for we first. And the second part is, like I said, there's that part where we need to get closer to the industry, all similar to what he mentioned as well. Like there's that thing where the industry and the institutions need to come closer. So there's a big need for collaboration with experts in the industry and teachers to actually help reshape that curriculum because they are the ones actually doing it. That's how I say it.
Okay.
Answer that, Moderator.
Yes, I have a question specifically for you, and it's around. Say this happens, right? Let's use computer science, the cheaper still, because I'm sorry, Pierre, from meaning like that. It feels like we're all straight jobs. But see somebody who's a HOD, tries to make face, and it's approved, right? It's introduced into the class. Do you think that, let's use Nigerians as an example, do you think that Nigerians are ready for that change, or Nigerian undergraduates in, for example, computer science department are ready for that change? So while he's asking, I think this is also like a proof of that I'd love to hear from the audience as well. Please.
I think, let's look at this case. Show that a lot of people who are in university who are here. And the reason they are here is because they want to learn outside of the classroom. So in terms of readiness, I don't think the student body is lagging behind. There are a lot of young people who are working for companies whilst in school. And the reason they can do that is because they applied something outside of school. So recognize this. Now, to get the faculty to invite some of these changes might be difficult because, again, nobody likes change. People would resist change, right? And I think one of the ways you could do that is, to start small, pilot little things. Don't come in and say you want to make wholesale changes to the curriculum. Or can you start with master classes, for instance? Just a series of workshops. Or let's break some hackathons, some project. Like we're talking about project-based learning. Let's introduce some real-world scenario project problems. Bring this to the school, and let the students work like partnership with the lecturers. That's how you get things done. If you're thinking, let's go to NUC, change the curriculum, like I said, it may happen. It's going to take a long time for that to happen. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, let's talk a little bit about accessibility, diversity. I'm a huge fan of that. And I'm curious to know, lately, we've been seeing, or maybe from my own perspective, I've been seeing communities coming up who are, advocating for persons with disability, advocating for more accessibility. Now, I'm curious to know, how do we address these accessibility challenges that prevent talented students, say, for example, someone who is disabled, someone who is blind, but has, that mental strength, that has that mental intelligence to progress in their career in tech. How do we address that? I will start with you, and then Babatunde, answer last.
This is very important because it's not, for us, we've seen that online is the future, right? And meeting people where they are is the future. But to talk about the fact that challenges that people face with learning, right, generally, where you mentioned someone that is blind, right? How do you achieve that? And that's where I'm so happy that products that are coming out, technology products, smartphones and all of that are coming out, have been able to help bridge that gap to a large extent. So if we're saying that we want to be able to make that happen, the question is, how do you connect whatever platform, whatever learning tools that you have, how do you make sure that it works with what already works for people, the phones that they're using, the devices that they're using, right? And the second part is being able to foster a communal experience, right? Africa, we're very big on community, right? We learn together, we move together, actually. So when there's that sense of oneness across, like a group of people learning together, there's that support structure where you can get as somebody with any form of disability in that sense. I'll give you an example. One of the guys on my team, right, he has a disability, right, but when he's going home, right, he doesn't go alone, he goes with another colleague of his, right? And for me, when I look at that, it's conscious effort where you are aware of this person's challenges, right? But we don't see it as challenges. We see that this person is real. Leave the challenge, leave the disability aside. How can we then collaborate to make sure that the disability is not even obvious anymore, right? And we're able to work together. So that's the same thing when it comes to learning as well, right? There's that need for us to consciously actually pay attention to that and create that environment.
Thank you,
Sorry,
Emmanuel.
I took time. Sorry.
Please, a round of applause for him. Okay, so Toby, do you want to add to that?
Yes. So, in my own perspective, how can we make learning more accessible? That's how I understood the question. So, on some level, it's kind of like a systemic issue, right? If Nigeria as a society is not very equal, but what can we do in our little space? I think as the industry, just speaking from the perspective of the industry, I think we need to learn to democratize knowledge a little bit more, and then also see our knowledge as part of our offerings. So in the sense that, taking Moniepoint as an example now, we've penetrated the market in such a way that they are, even in remote locations, you see our blue POS, right? So I think as the industry, if we have that level of penetration with our products, we should also have that level of penetration with our knowledge as well. Take our knowledge to those places where people don't usually have access to it. Take our knowledge there as well so that people can start to learn this. This is something Google is also very good at doing. There's a lot of their technology that the basics to learn it, they make it freely available
to everyone to learn. This is also something that we can also do here. And thanks, like with smartphones, AI, and everything, we can kind of bridge the gaps in terms of disability, kind of bridge the gap a little bit and make sure that our knowledge is available to most people.
Thank you very much. It is about today. Just want to add to this.
Yes.
Very
I mean, it's
briefly.
interesting that you brought this up because only recently we started to think about, training people to be more inclusive in how they build. If we say we're building the workforce of the future, that's what we say at GoMyCode. And yet we're not training our students to build accessibility, into their thinking, then it's a problem. As a matter of fact, I think for the first time yesterday, we had our first accessibility masterclass, which is to train our instructors, our students, to start to think about, as you're building this product, think about people that are not like you, but who need to learn, tech as well, who need to use these products that you're going to build eventually. So we started to think a bit more broadly about that. And the plan is that over the next few years, to build that into our curriculum as well. So we're working with the company that held the masterclass to help us develop that part of our curriculum. So it's a bit more inclusive. So we're building for everyone, not just for a few people.
Okay, so I have a next question here, and because of time, I'd love us to keep our responses very brief, but it's something that I'm very curious and keen on, and that's around like leadership amongst engineers. Now, the reason why I ask this is because I know a ton of engineers who just want to do the work. They just want to go in, build whatever system it is you want to build, and then, that's it, right? But as you continue to grow in your career, sometimes it's encouraged, many times it's encouraged to go the managerial route, But you find out that you have engineers or, you're working engineers who have very, very little to zero skills around leadership, skills around communication, skills around, teamwork and etc. So my question is, how can we develop these leadership skills amongst engineers, to prepare them for impactful roles? So I'll go with you, Babatunde. Sorry, Babatunde.
I mean, for me, I think this needs to be baked into the curriculum, into the way you train people, right? When Emmanuel was talking earlier about communities, the way we train, we have what we call hacker spaces, right? Which people come in almost on a daily basis for their trainings, to work on projects together, to work with their peers, for code reviews and everything, right? I think it is in people working together in learning problem solving, that's where they learn some of those soft skills, which you are alluding to, like leadership, communication, accountability. Because I hear this a lot from founders and businesses that we work with. Like, you train these guys on the technical skills, but right now, technical skills are a given, right? If you can code and yet you can't communicate, you can't lead, you can't listen, you can't be accountable, it is a big problem. So we've started to focus on that at GoMyCode. Like, how do we build that into what we do on a daily basis? So when they're working on projects, we force people to work together by putting them in cohorts. So in a group of 5, 10 people, and you're working on the project together, that causes you to think about, listening. You're learning listening skills, you're learning leadership skills, you're learning accountability. And I think that's the only way to make it work. Otherwise, if you're just train them, they will learn this on their own, it's never going to happen.
Okay, thank you. So inculcating it into your learning programs. All right. I would go with you, Toby, based off of your own experience as a practicing engineer, how would you encourage programs, institutions, and even companies as well? Because many times I found out that companies even don't encourage that. They don't provide that opportunity for these engineers to grow in that leadership part. So how would you encourage that, for them to develop those leadership skills amongst the engineers?
Yeah, so in relation to this, I think as Oluwatobi said, we actually need to start at the curriculum level. Like, engineers need to know that it's also just as important as having the technical skills to have the interpersonal skills to deal with people. Because at the end of the day, what we are trying to solve is problems. Like, we are not learning to code for just knowing how to code. We want to solve problems. And you can't solve problems without people. So you need to be able to motivate people, interact with people, learn from people, listen to people. So within Moniepoint, there is always an opportunity to kind of learn with other people. You can switch teams at times. You can just lead a small team on like very small projects that gives people the opportunity to be able to work and lead others. and then grow those skills.
All right, thank you. So, Emmanuel.
Yeah, to add to what has been said, I would say that an example of how it can work is companies have learning and development budget, right? And I've seen cases where HRs restrict employees to only take programs or courses that speaks to what they're doing, and that can be limiting. So I would say there's need for a way for companies to be flexible around that, such that when you do things like what Babaji said about peer review, right? If you notice that you have a leadership problem, right, in terms of even working with a team of people, there's that empathy problem, whatever, they can then allow you take a course that can help you improve in that area. So I would just say that.
Okay, so to wrap up this conversation, in the meantime, please can we give a round of applause to the panelists? Thank you so much. So to wrap up this conversation, we have mostly the persons who benefit from these programs, right? Or from the persons who benefit from these institutions. And I'm very big on, growing change makers. If change has to happen, sometimes it has to happen from the persons who are the beneficiaries. So I would like you to leave, maybe like one word of advice to each and every one of these attendees here, how to go ahead to make change, possibly in their institutions, in their departments, in their companies, etc. So we'll go this way. Just one word of advice.
One word or a statement?
Okay, sorry, a statement.
Okay. So I would just say think impact, right? Whatever you're doing, think impact. Because we can only collectively solve our problems as a continent, right? So think impact. So if you're working with a team of people, just think impact, right? Don't just think about yourself, what you want to gain. Think about how you want to impact your team.
Thank you very much, Babatunde.
I think the same thing I've been preaching for a while now is, you have to have a very agile mindset and be able to adapt very quickly. We live in very interesting times. Things are changing very quickly. One day, there's a quote by Piers Morgan that I love, that one day you're the cock of the walk, the next day you're a feather duster, right? If you're not thinking, if you're not very adaptive in your mindset, you might find yourself left behind. So always think, I need to move forward. I need to be very agile in my thinking.
Thank you so much. And Toby, how about you?
Okay, so my contribution will be on excellence. So I would like for everybody that is a beneficiary to just have a mindset of excellence, right? I like to say engineers are not tailors. We are engineers, right? What we do can ruin lives if we do it wrongly. So we need to embody excellence and really care about the things that we learn and the things that we put out. So that will be my...
Thank you so much. Please, another round of applause for the panelists. Once again, we have Emmanuel Ogunsola, who is the head of product at Altschool. We have Babatunde as well, who is a country head of GoMyCode, and we have Toby, who is a data engineer at Moniepoint. We have come to the end of this session. Thank you once again for giving us your time. And just like they had mentioned, think of impact, make impact in your individual roles, in your individual pathways. Think of excellence, and remember to also be creative so that you